In this comparative study, I will be exploring the representation of modern poverty in different socio-economic contexts between two family drama films, Shoplifters, a 2018 film directed by Hirokazu Koreeda, and The Pursuit of Happyness, a 2006 film directed by Gabriel Muccino. The book, The Screenwriter's Taxonomy by Eric R. Williams, defines family drama as films that revolve around how a family, which are its central characters, reacts to a central challenge. These challenges are often conflicts at the heart of family life and family relationships. Indeed, the films Shoplifters and The Pursuit of Happyness both portray of a major conflict that the family faces and their distinct responses to it. However, it is their contrasting portrayal of this common narrative that sets the two films apart. To truly grasp the glaring contrast between these two films, we must first understand its drastically different cultural context. While both films tell the story of a poverty-stricken family under times of economic decline, the films depict very different socio-economical and cultural contexts. The Pursuit of Happyness, released in 2006, is set in San Francisco during the early 1980s, specifically during 1981 in the midst of the early 1980s recession and the newly sworn-in Reagan administration. The story is of Chris Gardner, a struggling salesman, and his grueling endeavor for financial stability while caring for his 5-year-old son following a fallout with his wife. It sheds light to the state of the lower class and poverty during the miserable economic crisis at the time. Simultaneously, the film is illustrative of many patriotic philosophies, such as the American dream through Chris Gardner's journey to wealth and success, the American identity of individualism, self-confidence, and the pursuit of happiness, and finally, the message of equality ingrained through the representation of an Afro-American protagonist, with even a blatant allusion to the Declaration of Independence.
It was right then that I started thinking about Thomas Jefferson and the Declaration of Independence, and the part about our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
The film captures the strong sociocultural values of the United States, especially prevalent during the closing years of the Cold War, as well as a show of patriotism during the early 2000s when the film was released, following the 9/11 attacks and the War on Terror just a few years previous. Shoplifters, released in 2018, tells the story of a non-biological family in Tokyo suffering under conditions of relative poverty, a growing trend in modern Japanese society over the last decade due to an aging population and a declining economy. The film depicts the lives and relationships dynamics of the Shibata family that relies on shoplifting to afford their living conditions. It sheds light on the growing issue of modern poverty in Japan, despite its relatively low public awareness. As the director Koreeda has said himself, his films represent an implicit criticism of modern Japan, this time focusing on modern poverty in Japan through the context of other contemporary social issues such as shoplifting, domestic violence, and the social welfare system. Similar to The Pursuit of Happyness, Shoplifters explores the central socio-cultural aspect of Asian and Japanese identity, family. The film is seen as a rebuke of the traditional view of the Japanese family, where only blood relations can be trusted, as it explores the theme of family beyond blood. On top of this, Koreeda demonstrates Asia's strong historical presence in the family drama genre, which has produced a preponderance of work throughout the years due to its particular cultural potency in Asia. One of the most obvious thematic similarities between the two films are its exploration of universal themes through the portrayal of an exceptional family and their situation. The Pursuit of Happyness explores the narrow theme of the challenges of parenting and adulthood, romanticizing the success of the Black American dream, as the protagonist strives to find happiness and satisfaction through financial success, thus contributing to a better life. On the other hand, Shoplifters explores a broader theme of humanity and the human condition, involving family, love, money, and sex. The film is a direct depiction of the values embedded in Asian and Japanese culture, specifically the importance of family, as the protagonist's vague goal throughout the film is finding happiness and satisfaction in family. Both films are critically acclaimed for its honest and transparent realism in which they portray these poignant stories of family and poverty. The Pursuit of Happyness is widely credited for its authenticity in its storytelling. Without resorting to the stereotypical success story depicted in Hollywood films, it is praised for its realistic and transparent presentation of a humanistic story with constant failures that eventually compound into a victory.
Yes, sir.
Some critics calling it an American dream artfully told, skillfully sold. At the same time, elements of Hollywood realism depicted in the genre of family drama, docudramas, and biopics are still widely prevalent in contrast to a film like Shoplifters. The film makes use of the classic hero's journey and the Hollywood story arc, as a clear setup is presented in the film, followed by numerous conflicts posed on Chris, and finally, the film comes to a close with a clear resolution. The nature of this fast-paced plot and insertion of drama is amplified through the use of a motivating and emotional score.
Linda!
Combined with the fast cuts and intimate close-ups of dialogue scenes. The rapid pace of the plot is developed with the use of multiple plot devices such as the Rubik's Cube, bone density scanner, and the job interview, which constantly brings a new dynamic of conflict to the protagonist's life. The hectic nature of the protagonist's life is dramatized and complemented by composition, camera movement, and narrative execution. The tight framing and its narrow depth of field isolates the protagonist from his surroundings, as he is constantly drowning under public pressure and competition. The dynamic camera movements, such as zoom and handheld shots, are used to put us in the perspective of the protagonist's hectic life, as he is seen constantly running and chasing, both literally and figuratively.
Trusting a hippie girl with my scanner. Why did I do this?
These elements combine with a voiceover narration and a prevalent score to augment the dramatic appeal and emotion of the film in portraying the protagonist's individualistic tale of the American dream. Contrastingly, Hirokazu Koreeda's humanistic filmography, including Shoplifters, is critically praised for its non-dramatization of his story. In Shoplifters, Koreeda follows his tried and true narrative style of setting up a scenario and a group of characters, and then merely allowing them to exist. Koreeda is known for his observing life as it goes on type narrative, and an imply rather than tell approach to cinematic storytelling. Shoplifters meticulously use dialogue, body language, and visual cues to present the audience with implications that lead them to come to their own conclusions. This is a traditional style of storytelling for both Koreeda and contemporary Japanese filmmakers, as it conveys the muted and at times staleness of his films. For instance, in an early scene in the film, we are revealed of the domestic violence that Yuri, a girl that the family had just kidnapped, has been a victim of in her biological family. Though we are never directly told this, we are given this implication through several scenes and interaction, such as when Hatsue, the elderly woman of the family, discovers scars on Yuri's arm. In the following scene, as the husband and wife of the family, Osamu and Nobio, attempt to send Yuri back home, they hear screams and thuds from the apartment. The two gloomingly sit there, indicating their fateful decision of keeping Yuri in the family, safe from the abusive household. This narrative approach contrasts the blatant storytelling of the Pursuit of Happyness, which directly informs the audience with a voiceover narration. Shoplifters also steer away from the extensive use of a score, keeping the film authentic to real life without the emotional amplification of music. This in turn lets each piece of dialogue sink into the audience as they pay attention to each detail and nuance of the interactions of the characters' daily lives. The replication of ordinary life is also conveyed in the frequent use of long shots and wide depth of field, with typical eye-level shot angles that recreate the ordinary way we see life. The emphasis of relationships and family bond is also accentuated in the composition, as the characters are usually seen in either private environments with intimate close-up shots, or a common wide shot that frames multiple family members in a tight space. In two films with such contrasting context and filmic approaches, we see the universality of the family bond. The films tackle the importance of their respective cultural values, which are exposed under the extreme circumstances of poverty, whether it be the concept of the American dream or the moral of belonging to a family regardless of blood. The value of the family bond is undeniable, as the films illustrate the strength of the interdependent relationship of parent and child. In The Pursuit of Happyness, this is told through Chris Gardner's personal journey of becoming a stockbroker, as he does everything in his power to provide for his son. In Shoplifters, this is gradually discerned as the family grasps the tremendous bond between them through the death of Hatsue, the family's arrest, and the two parents' desire to be called mom and dad. Even the conclusion of the two films are approached differently, with The Pursuit of Happyness ending on a happy note, leaving the audience happy, motivated, and inspired, while Shoplifters leave a sense of moral ambiguity of family, misdemeanors, and justice, while simultaneously being deeply emotive and thought-provoking. In conclusion, the realism of family drama films can be exhibited in the contrary ways, relative to the cultural context of the film's setting and producer, while illustrating the same universality of a touching story of conflict and family bond.